Welcome to Beyond Measure. Today we're creating a vintage Christmas shaker card. I downloaded some vintage Christmas images to my computer and now I'm pulling them into my Minecraft Studio Elite software. To size the image in the software, just click on a corner and drag. I would like to change the shape of the image, so I clicked on Digital Punch, went to Basic Shapes and found the oval. Now I'm sizing it to include all of the details of my vintage image that I desire. You don't have to rotate your image, but this is the way my brain works. It was just a bit easier for me. Size and shape your oval to your heart's content and punch, keeping the inner portion of the image. As you can see, I also did the same thing with a rectangle, and now we're just using a portion of the image to create a circle image. Now let's soften the edges of our images. Go into Effects and use the toggle on the Softer Edges area. Why, you say? Why so many images and shapes? This was for our Christmas craft event, so I wanted them to have lots of choices. Now we're in the uber awesome Make the Cut software. I pulled my images in through Pixel Trace to enable me to get the sizing just right when we're creating our card base, as we have started right here. Click on Basic Shapes, choose Rectangle and Size. Sized this card base to approximately 5.5 by 8.5. Then copy and paste. We chose another rectangle in our Basic Shapes, and these rectangles that you're seeing to the right are already the size of my rectangular images. I placed it on my card base where I desired it to be and clicked on Boolean Join. Now to make a little bit of a mat for your image. Size this rectangle to be just a bit larger than your aperture or opening. And now we're grabbing a rectangle from the Basic Shapes to create a mat for the inside of our card. So this will be a little bit less in measurement than half of our foundation. So let's begin with 4.5 by 5.5. And I've done the same thing with the oval and circle. I just duplicated to have more ovals and circles to work with. This is the Deco circle frame from the gallery in Make the Cut software. I'm going to size it so that it's the perfect size for what I need to go around my shaker card image. Once we arrive at the perfect measurement, we'll place one of the circles on the inside, highlight the frame and the circle, and click Boolean Join. I always like to check and make sure that I'm on the right path. In Make the Cut software, do you see how it has the measurements above and over to the side? It's really super nice. So this is a rectangle that is a little less than 5.5 by 4.25. We are creating a map for the front of our card, so it doesn't need to be quite as wide as the front of the card. And Boolean Join. For this video, I've chosen to use my oval cut image with a bit of a border. Cut a couple of cereal boxes to fit on the inside of the card. Trace your oval on it and run through the Xyron 900 Create a Sticker Machine. Adhere 2 pieces of cereal box together. Now use the We Are Memory Keeper Big Bite to punch some holes so that it enables your scissors to get into the center of our aperture. For no lumps, humps, and bumps, we're going to use the Xyron 900 to adhere our image and to our mat, and then the mat to, well, you'll see. Keep in mind that our cereal boxes have adhesion on the back. So at this step, we are attaching it to the image. And this beautiful cardstock is from Die Cuts with a View, the Christmas and Winter cardstock stack. I cut a piece of acrylic from Oriental Trading that I will adhere with the double-sided sticky tape from Oriental Trading. I have a few fuzzies and glitters and, oh my goodness, fingerprints, so I misted my cloth and wiped it off. Now this is a very important step. You will need to use the sticky tape or double-sided tape or score tape and place very securely around the image. It's okay if it has lumps or bumps or wrinkles, because eventually it'll go flat. Next, we'll use a few little glitter flakes in the middle to create our shaker or our snow. Now be sure not to get it on your adhesive before adhering to your card. Can you believe how easy and how festive that is? Next up, this is the Crafter's Companion Ultimate Tool. I don't really trust myself in folding my card in half, so I place the edges of my card and use my bone folder to get a lovely fold every time. This is the beautiful Damask background stamp by Tim Holtz and Stampers Anonymous. I just inked it with some clear embossing ink, brayering my mat atop it so that it will transfer the design to my parchment, and then sprinkle your clear embossing powder by Ranger atop. Use your heating tool and heat. Please forgive me, I have no idea why this all of a sudden was blurry. I'm using a self-healing cutting mat with my Martha Stewart Deckle Blade rotary cutter. It works beautifully, and if you're not really confident about tearing the edge for a distressed look, then this is totally the ticket. Now, do you remember how we clear heat embossed this mat? Well, now we get to use our Distress ink by Tim Holtz in broken china, faded jeans, and weathered wood. This is like almost supernatural how this works. I misted my cloth just a hair and rubbed gently on the embossing. This removes any excess ink that is still upon the clear embossed area. Now to age it, use your walnut stain around the edges. Now we'll use our Xyron 900 to place adhesive on the back of our mat and our frame, making sure to brayer it before you remove the clear film atop. Now when you're brayering atop the shaker card, make sure that you don't brayer over the actual image area, because you don't want to squish that space and that air in which you created with the cereal boxes. Adhere your frame and brayer. Woohoo! Now we get to create these little shabby chic poinsettias. I cut all of the card, including the poinsettias, on my Click and Cut zine. And boy, it is amazing. This is the Toile, Toile, Recollections cardstock, and I use the Barn Door and Peeled Paint Distress Stain for color. At this point, they'll still be a bit damp, so handle with care. I placed it in the Perfectly Paisley Provocraft embossing folder, and I ran it through this Sizzix Texture Boutique embossing machine. And shaped with your fingers. I kind of bent it down the middle and then kind of crinkled the flowers a bit. And then I'm applying just sporadically some clear embossing ink. And this is the Stampendous Frontage Embossing Enamels Shabby Chic set. These enamels create awesome texture. So this is aged gold. It's okay if you heat it from the front, but it creates a better texture if you heat it from the back. Use something to hold your poinsettias that will keep you safe from the heat. I also cut these on the Click and Cut zine, and they came from the Make the Cut gallery. They are a holly. The scrap piece of green that I had was a bit bright for a vintage effect, so to age it, I used the walnut stain and I put little veins with my peeled paint Distress Marker by Tim Holt. Woohoo! This is a Water Mister Antique Linen Distress Stain and the Hug Snug Seam Binding. Next, we'll use our handy dandy, the Ultimate Tool by Crafter's Companion to enable us to tie a beautiful little bow every time. This is a very versatile tool. Woohoo! Now we get to assemble all of the embellishments onto our card. This punch is the punch I recommend for everyone to have. This is the Martha Stewart Oak Leaf Punch. And I'm going to create a little bit of a snow effect with the Folk Art acrylic paint in Wicker White. Please forgive the blurriness. Again, I don't know what happened. So while the paint was wet, I sprinkled it with some Donna Salazar Fairy Dust in Sugar Shimmer. Now we are assembling our poinsettias with hot glue. Just gluing in the middle, that's plenty. Remove your holly from the sticker backing sheet and trim to your liking. Using the Sakura Quickie Pen, I am adhering the oak leaves. You can also use hot glue. I used hot glue to adhere our beautiful little bow, and then we're going to adhere some of the leaves atop of the bow. Now these are some beautiful little vintage bell decorations that were attached to some wire that I clipped off. The lady at our local thrift store gave them to me. This is barn door distress stickles that I use for the berries, and the clear rock candy distress stickles for a little vintage shimmer on the leaves. And this is our completed project. Thank you so very much for watching. Remember that you are so very important. I'd love to see your creations too. Be blessed beyond measure.